It is currently, don't know what day this will be posted, but it is March 10th, and you can see the flowers here. Just spectacular out here in the greenhouse. These are Sarracenia flava that you see the flowers on. These guys never miss a bloom. You can see these ones, or this one is like a lime green, and these ones are a yellow. This is Flava Rugelii. So there's that one. I do believe this one's either Maxima or the typical Flava. I'm not entirely sure. There's about 4 or 5 different varieties in here. There's Rugelii, whatever that one is, Rugelii, Maxima, something. And then we have these two, and that one, I really need to find the tags. Pygmy Sundew has been repotted into some terracotta. Oriophila pushing out some pictures, finally. Drosera capensis alba, looking fantastic. Here's some more. Here's some capensis and Bermanii seedlings I have in here. You can't really see them at the moment. I covered them up with sand on accident. See, in the winter months, I have everything top dressed in black blasting cold sand or whatever. Excuse my sniffles, sorry. And in the summertime, I coat them, or top dress, whatever you want to call it, with silica sand. And that is to maintain temperature and all that good stuff. But sometimes it mixes with the peat and makes a mess like this, but I prefer the natural kind of clean look like that. And you can see here some fly traps starting to wake up. They're definitely getting a move on, right? These ones right here are about a month ahead of the others. And that's becoming very apparent because this one's trying to flower. You can see the little tiny little Drosera there. There's another one. I do believe this one's Dente. Some more. These are all just different cultivars, mostly B52s in here. And a few Dente. These are typicals back here. Or, yeah, these are typicals I got from Lowe's and stuff like that. Here's some Walmart rescues right here. Kind of doing a little bit. Ew. Here's another typical. And then over here we have B52. Another B52. They're just kind of taking their time. Here's a DCXL. And here's a King Henry. Actually, it might be reversed. I really should put some labels on things. And spring is definitely here. However, the rotundifolia here is trying to put on a little show and flower for me. But, you know. Ooh, maybe it'll focus. There we go. You can see all the dew on the leaves there. Love, love, love rotundifolia is one of my favorites. It's not got above 80 in here since the flowers are around. And you can see there's plenty of pollen in the flowers. I have been pollinating quite regularly. I'm gonna try to get seeds this year. I actually crossed this one with these ones just to kind of see what happened, and vice versa. I took this one and crossed it here, but this one I took and crossed here. So here are some, or here is a picture that is coming up on Sarracenia flava, and you can see the difference between the lids. This one is more, I guess, shorter here, and this one's more longer. I'm assuming that's the only difference. These ones, not really definitive, what would you call it, picture size yet, but the flowers are definitely there, so that helps. What are you? Some kind of flava, but you can see they're all different by the shape of the pictures before they open, so that's how you usually tell. Filiformis is looking fantastic as well. There is a flower stalk down here, maybe. Ooh. There we go. You can see it down there starting to form. And, very sticky, sorry. Right behind that is another B52, one of my favorite clones of fly traps. Back here is another flava, one of my favorite Sarracenia, right next to Purpurea. And it's right here. You can see all the little pictures starting to come up. That one is actually seed grown, so you can make some pretty nice hybrids. Hopefully that turns out good this year. Last year it just kind of put out a bunch of Phyllodia, and it's kind of a bummer. Some sphagnum moss I'm propagating, and Sarracenia seedlings I'm trying to get to grow. Here are some Sarracenia yellow jacket, which is Sarracenia flava crossed with Sarracenia purpurea. and you get that. Let's see. Get down here. Here's a Judith Hindle. This is a little tiny division I have from someone, but you can see all the dew on the capensis. I'm in love. And there's actually a little tiny flower spike that I just noticed, so that will be fun to watch grow. There's tons of pygmies everywhere, pygmy sundews. Pots upon pots of them. They're everywhere. They're in like every pot. I'm sure there's even some over here. Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. Oh, okay, flowers. These guys are deciding to bloom too. But most of the plants in here are starting to either flower or put on spring growth, which is fantastic. I'm getting a good jump start with spring. So yeah. Here are some typical flytraps. Yeah, you can see there's another pygmy sundew there. Where's the other one? Oh, right there. But they are everywhere in here. Wouldn't surprise me if there's some in the regular pots over here, which I keep very low water in here. Here's some nasturtiums or something like that. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it. And here's some sphagnum moss, which I need to do something with. So, yeah. But if you hear a little bit of wind flow, that's the heater in here, sorry. Bug bat is starting to flower as well. Looks like we have 3 or 4 flower spikes. Purpurea here has 2 flower spikes. Last year it only gave me 1. And I did trim it up a lot. So this is pretty normal. Like most Serracenia, they will put on a lot of growth. See, I trimmed up this guy a lot too. He only had, I think, about 13 pitchers. He's down to 3. And pushing out more. The flavas, they will usually carry their phyllodia up until winter, and I will cut them off around mid to late January. That way February they can get a kickstart of growth, and then by late February they will put on some flowers or pitchers, and early March they will look like this. Fantastic. And that way you can get working on some seeds, and this also gives them a second chance to flower, which I've never, experienced it, but I did last year. Whenever I woke up my flavas early, they ended up blooming in the spring and then again in the fall, which I was kind of confused, but plants do their own thing. And the flower ended up making it to this stage, and then the frost got it, so it kind of kicked the bucket. But the plant lived. The plant is right here, just waiting for it to put on a bigger show next year, because there's 4 flower spikes. Next year there'll probably be 8. This plant's getting massive. Like last year there were only 2 flowers. Now there's 4. What's going on? And this one didn't even bloom, so this one's first flower. It's a bit of a wonky shape compared to the straight normal ones over here. But yeah, well, not much you can do there. And ignore my messy plant table. Here are some tomato plants. They don't look like much right now, but I just sowed some seeds. Sago palm, still no new growth, but I'm expecting it to put on some growth, hopefully, this spring, if I didn't kill it, which I hope I didn't. Alocasia. This is Alocasia odora or Californica. Pretty sure they're the same, but you can see it's definitely not thriving, but it is alive. This is all that I want. Here's a philodendron jungle boogie or crocodile, not entirely sure. Cuculata alocasia back here, looking fantastic. Sorry if I'm breathing heavy, it's kind of hot in here. About 80 degrees. I know it's not that hot, but pretty humid too. So, I think that's all that I will put in the video. If I turn you around, you can see I've started watering the orchids again, except for this one. But I have been wrapping this old piece of a towel. You can see it holds water. Fairly good, actually. See if I squeeze it, water comes out. And what I'm actually doing is watering the orchid roots that are on the bark instead of just having to, you know, hit it with a hose like this. And I am just letting it do that instead. And then over here we have done the same thing, and everything's starting to put on new growth. Like the dendrobiums, they are ready for summer. And so am I, honestly. But yeah, that's pretty much everything in here. One last overview. If you guys want to see anything, just let me know. I know there's not many tropical plants in here, but there's a few in the house. When I say a few, probably about 20 or 30. Those will be in the next video, hopefully, which will be probably next month or late this month. But yeah, there's this greenhouse, and I'll zoom out real quick. There you go. There's all the carnivores, and I'll zoom you back in and pan you back over to the flowers. Thanks for watching.